Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well on your journey. I'd love to hear your wins as usual. So please send me your pictures, send me your weight. Let me know how it's going. Let me know if you have any challenges. That's what we're here for. And there's been quite a few people who are having wins and losing weight and feeling so much better. They're sleeping better. They're getting off their medication. So I encourage you to take a peek at some of the prior posts on the Facebook group page and see what people are doing. It's pretty inspiring. Yeah, people are doing really well. So today I'm going to cover label reading. And so we're going to talk about, how we read the labels on the packages and how can we tell if the product is going to be good for our journey or not. And so let's look at that. So some people say, yeah, I know how to read a label, but there's lots of things that you may not realize that you don't know about a label. So I want to go through that so you become a pro at reading those labels and choosing the right foods that are going to help you in this journey. Okay, so let me go ahead and share. And there it is. Okay. All right, so food label guide. Okay, so this is a guide that I created a while back, and it has lots of good parts of reading the labels. So this first part talks about the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and they actually come up with all the labeling guidelines that the manufacturers have to follow on their products. So this list right here, this first list it's just telling you the things that need to be on every label of every food product that you see. Okay, so this is a requirement that they have to do. Okay, so let's just dive right in and look at the label itself. So this is an example of a label. I really don't know what product it is, but I found this somewhere on the internet. I think it was a diabetes page or something, and so they had this. So the first thing you want to look at when you look at a label is you want to look at the serving size. So in this case, it's 1 cup. Okay, so 1 cup or 227 grams. And if you look above that serving size, you'll see 4 servings per container. So the calories of 280 calories, it says amount per serving. So that's just for 1 cup, not for the whole container. So don't get confused by that. So really, though, if you ate the whole container, it would be 280 calories times 4 because there's 4 servings in this container. Does that make sense? That would also be 4 cups. Okay, hope that makes sense to you. Okay, so the next thing, yes, you want to look at the calories. Now, are the calories, are they low? Are they high? Are they going to actually be, helping you when you're creating your meals with this product? So look at those calories and make sure they're not going to be real high. And as I move on, I'm going to show you some things, how you can make that determination. Okay, so the titles here that are the macronutrients here are required by the FDA for the manufacturers to put them on there. So we have total fat of 9 grams, but they have broken down that total fat so you as a consumer have a better idea of what kind of fat you're consuming. So they have saturated fat and trans fat. So of course, we don't want either one of those in our diet. And so that's why they put them on there. So you know and have knowledge, this is what you're buying. Okay. There's cholesterol, right? Some of us have high cholesterol. And so you want to take a look at that label. How much cholesterol is in there? Sodium. Okay, sodium, not good, especially for people with elevated blood pressure. How much sodium is in there. It can be bloating, right? It can cause some really big imbalances in the body. Now they have total carbohydrates of 34 grams. Now total carbs can be different things, right? There's like 3 different categories of carbs. And so they want to break this down for you. So first is the dietary fiber. Okay, so that's good. right? We want that to be higher. So dietary fiber is 4 grams in this product. Then they have total sugars. So total sugars of 6 grams. And then they have a subtotal under total sugars. So this is like the added sugars that they actually put in the product, but it's 0, right? They didn't put any added sugars in this product. So why is carbohydrates 34? Well, you have total sugars of 6. So how did that happen? So if you guessed, it may have been like natural sugars, like fruit. Yes, that's what it is. They didn't add the sugar in. It already came in with fruit. Maybe this product has strawberries in it or has apples in it. So it's a natural sugar that went in there. Okay, then we have protein. 15 grams of protein in this product. Okay. And then these 4 vitamins and minerals are also required for the manufacturers to put on the label. And that's because we don't get enough of them, right? So they want you to look and make sure you get enough. So we have vitamin D, we have calcium, iron, and potassium. So those are actually required to be put in there. Okay. Now, the next thing is the daily value percentage. Now, most people don't know how to read that. What is that? What is a daily value? How many people actually look at the daily value percentages on the right side of the label? Probably 0, right? Maybe 1. Okay, so this is a quick guide to percent daily value, and this also is helpful in determining if this is a good food for you, for you or not. So if you look down below, it says the percent daily value, DV, tells you how much a nutrient in a serving of food contributes to a daily diet of 2,000 calories a day. Okay, and this is used for general nutrition advice. So in other words, it's just for general, it's not for anybody specific. They use 2,000 calories as an example because most adults in the United States eat about 2,000 calories, so some less, some more. You may only eat 1,500 calories a day. So you're going to have to adjust these daily value numbers. So what this means is let's see, it says how much a nutrient in a serving of food contributes to a daily diet. So if you have, you have an allowance of total fat per day. Well, if you ate this product, it would be 12% of that total allowance per day of total fat. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so now we have a 5% or less is low, or 20% or more is high. So that's how you can use that to determine, if this is going to be a good product or not for you to eat. So total fats, 12%. So you have to kind of gauge that. It's not more than 20 and it's not less than 5. So is it a good amount for you? I don't know. You have to make that decision. But let's go down to sodium. Well, 850 milligrams, and somebody should have at least, 15 to 2,300 milligrams a day of sodium. So, 850 doesn't sound that bad. But if you look at the DV, the daily value percentage, it's 37%. Now, if you look at your 2 numbers here, it kind of gives you a clue on what that is. It's greater than 20%. So this is considered a high sodium product because it's over 20%. Okay, so I have clients now when they learn about this that they just look at the daily values and see if it's lower than 5 or greater than 20. They can make a determination. And if it's towards the middle, like the 12 or 14%, then, they just kind of make that decision if they want to, take that much of that nutrient in for this product. I hope that makes sense. If not, let me know. Okay, so I'm going to move on. These descriptions just kind of talk about what I just said. So I'm going to move on. And here's the general rule that I mentioned also. 5% or less of the daily value is considered low. 20% or higher is considered high. So this is the 5-20 rule. So you compare the products, you select those that meet your specific dietary needs and health goals. right? So use the 520 rule on that daily value. That'll be helpful. Okay, on this document, which I'm going to be putting into the group also for you to look at, how do I know if the food is good for me? So when looking at nutrition facts label, there are a number of questions that you should consider, okay, and determine if you want to consume this food or not. So things like total calories, right? Do they seem really high per serving? Maybe you would normally eat 2 servings of that product, so you got to multiply it multiply it by 2. So you need to look at that. How many carbs are in it? How much fiber? Maybe it's got some really good fiber in it, so you're really happy about that. And then total added sugars, the added sugars, yeah, you got to watch those. But you do have to watch the the natural sugars that are already, naturally in there, like with fruit. Because that can also increase your blood sugar levels if you have, diabetes or pre-diabetes and your insulin levels. So you definitely still have to look at the total sugars to see if you want to go for this product or not. And then, of course, there's protein and then total fat and saturated fat per serving. Oh, and I need to go back because I just remembered that I missed something that's pretty important. You may notice that some of these don't have a daily value. Okay, so like, hey, well, what's going on with that? So trans fat, it has 0 because they can't come up. The FDA did not come up with a number for the daily value. I mean, you really are not supposed to have any trans fat because it's horrible for you. And so they're not going to put a percentage in there. It's just like you want that to be 0. And then there's not a whole lot of foods that have trans fats anymore. It's been banned in a lot of places in the United States. For years it has been. So just no, that's why there's no daily value in trans fat. And then total sugars. Again, there's no daily value in total sugars because they don't actually recommend something, like have a recommended number for sugars. Now, they do say as a general rule, no more than 10% of your daily calories, should be the sugar portion of your diet. So, you can think about that, but they don't recommend any sugar value, so they're leaving that blank. And then the last one is protein. What's up with protein? Protein's so good for us and we need it. But here's the thing. Most people get protein and get plenty of it. So they don't even put a daily value in it. They don't even feel it's needed that you have to actually calculate it. So that's kind of nice. So keep eating your protein. All right. So I just wanted to make sure you knew about why those daily value slots were blank. That's why. Okay, let's go back where we were at. Okay, so we finished this. How do I know if the food is good for me? And I have a value tip for you. So looking at the label, to the side or underneath, you'll see the actual ingredients in there, right? So you need to look at those too, because sometimes you may see sugars in the ingredients that the label says 0 sugars, right? So it's kind of weird that way. So you have to not only look at the label with the daily value percentages in there, but you have to look at the ingredients also. And let me tell you a little hint. If an ingredient ends with OSE, then that means it's a sugar. So dextrose, lactose, sucrose, sucralose, glucose, right? Those are all sugars and they all end with OSE. So remember that. Pretty easy to remember that. And here's a tip. Select foods with 5 or less ingredients. If they have 5 or less ingredients, that's less chemicals they're going to be putting in there, right? So it needs to be just very minimal ingredients and they must be recognizable. So select foods with recognizable ingredients. Are they real foods on that list, or are the words this long because they belong in chemicals and toxins and things like that you can't read? You have no idea what they are or how to even say them. That's what you're putting in your body if you're eating that. So think about that. You must be able to recognize the food or the ingredients in there. Okay, so remember those two tips when you're looking at the ingredient label. Here's an example. I love this example because it really talks about what I'm talking about here. It really shows what I'm talking about here. So Fruit Loops, okay, ingredients. You see the corn flour blend. You have sugar, wheat flour, whole grain flour, starch, vegetable oils. I mean, look at these, all these oils. Maltodextrin, salt, corn fiber, lots of corn. Corn is very inflammatory to a lot of people. And then they have the dyes, the red, the yellow, the blue, all those dyes in there, which we are working on in the United States right now to get rid of. Is what we need to do. And if you just keep going on, it does show has some B vitamins in it and vitamin D, but that doesn't mean that this is a healthy product. And recognize that the products that show up like at the very beginning of the list, like corn flour blend, whole grain yellow corn, sugar is number 2. That means the product has most of that type of ingredient in it. So the most it has is corn flour blend. Okay, what is that blend? I mean, corn flour blend, yellow corn. I mean, again, that could be inflammatory to people. But look at the second ingredient, sugar. Right, so it's got a lot of sugar because it's a second ingredient. And then wheat flour. Well, there's lots of gluten in wheat flour, right? So you have to watch that. And you know, and somewhere in the middle there, it has natural flavor. So I can't believe they even put the word natural in this label. Can you? I mean, look at that. So nothing's natural about that in here. So you got to be careful when it says natural flavor. It doesn't mean there's like whole foods, natural foods in this product just because the word natural is in there. So you need to watch that. Now, let's look at the second example I have. I actually found this second example at Sprouts. I was just reading labels, comparing, and just looking at them. 3 Wishes. You can see it is a emulation of Fruit Loops, but look at the ingredients. Wow. Chickpea, tapioca, pea protein, organic cane sugar. So it does have cane sugar, but it is 1, 2, 3, number 4. Again, there's natural flavors, so we really don't know what kind of, if it's really natural flavors, probably are going to not be natural. Vegetable juice for color, imagine that. No dyes, right? No dyes, no red 40 or yellow 5 or blue 1. It's vegetable juice. And then monk fruit for sweetness. So monk fruit actually is a fruit. And I think, I want to say it comes from Japan or something like that. And it's a great sweetener, a great alternative to for sweetener because it's all natural. So there are, let's see, less ingredients. There's more than 5, but it's still less than the Fruit Loops. And you can actually read all those words, right? Those words are not hard to read and you can actually identify them. So that's what you need to look at, especially when you're comparing. Okay, hope that makes sense. Okay, so you may see a couple of labels. One looks like the one on the left, which we just went through. This is a different one, but it's the same format. You may see a label on the right. Looks like label B. And this is why you might have an extra column in there, extra 2 columns in there. So you have the per serving, 220 calories, and you have per container. So the whole container, which is 440 calories. And so they continued with the comparison all the way down. This is a label they use on products that people may eat the whole thing. You know, it may not be that big. And so somebody may eat the whole thing, but then you have people that are like only going to eat half of it, right? So it's a typical product that may be eaten the whole container. So that's why they split those in half to help you out. So you don't have to calculate it yourself. So anyways, everything else is the same on them. Okay, and the last part here is added value. Below, you'll find a valuable chart titled Product Nutrition Claims and Definitions. So this is a chart that will help you understand the product claims manufacturers make. They're not always what they say, but they are allowed to do it. Manufacturers are allowed to say some things that aren't necessarily true. So let's just look at some examples. So calorie free. So that tells me there are no calories in this product. But really the definition is contains less than 5 calories per serving. Okay, yeah, it's a low calorie product, but it's not calorie free. It's got less than 5 calories. It could have anywhere between 1 and 4 calories in it. So if you're getting technical, that's kind of what it is. So fat free is the same thing. Contains less than a half a gram of total fat per serving. That's not fat free, because free means it's free of it all, right? So you have to just kind of remember that. Low sodium. So if it has low salt, contains less than 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. So anyways, these just give you an idea of what to look for and get familiar with them, and which could actually can harm people if you have a sensitivity. So like gluten free, but it does have some gluten in it. So if you have celiac disease, that may affect you, but because you ate it because it said gluten free. Okay, I hope that makes sense to everybody. Let me know if you have any questions. That is the whole form. And let me just get back here. Okay. Okay, so if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope this is helpful for you to go and do some comparisons when you're at the grocery store. It may take you a little longer to shop, right? Because you're looking and reading the labels and comparing and using the 520 rule and the two tips on ingredients. But once you have an idea of which brand you want to use and which is best, you're going to get quicker and quicker at it. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I will hopefully see you all soon and see some great results from your journey. Take care.